Welcome back. In this video I finish off the doors and the front wall. I've never really been a fan of having keys to get into a building, so I looked high and low and I actually found this smart lock from Smart Locks Australia, and I'm just going to put it on one door. And what it has is a number of ways to get in without using a key. So there's an RFID scanner, there's a keypad, and there's a fingerprint as well that you can use. And if all else fails, there is a spot there for a mechanical key. So it's a really nice quality one, and hopefully that'll make getting in and out a bit easier for me. So I just route out space to fit this new door lock, and it's a little bit fiddly, but it's not too bad to make it neat. So once that basket was in, I put it together. It normally comes with a handle to suit a swinging door, and there is this option for a different handle and different basket if you want it to work for a sliding door like I do. So I put it together. Comes with a really nice gasket, installed the door, and there's a little bit of programming to do once it's installed. So it has an app and a whole heap of functions, and the thing I like about it is it works very reliably, and it has an auto lock function on it as well. Once I had that door done, I started on the access doors. Now, I originally was going to paint these the same colour as the building itself in that grey, but I thought it would look better if I could sort of try to make it look like a wood grain. So I start off with like a yellow tan sort of base, put some stain on. I bought this graining tool, and I know I'm not pressing hard enough, but here I'm sort of just experimenting a bit to see what the grain might look like, and I'm practicing on that one of the actual doors, so it is what it is. While I was thinking about that, I started just staining the bottom, and it didn't take me long to think that, you know what, I didn't really like that texture of grain, and I figured I'll mess about with it and see what I could do just with a brush. So I start messing about with the brush and trying to make like knots and a different grain pattern. Now the thing about trying to paint wood grain is it's pretty forgiving, I think, because no wood grain's the same, and some different textures and markings on it, it's actually not a bad thing. So I mess about. I'm not, at this point, I'm not really sure, but I'll keep going anyway. I'll mark up some knots and a few variations, and this is the first coat. It does look quite streaky. I'll keep going with it, and once it dries, I do another coat, and with this second coat, it's actually looking a lot better. I'm quite happy with this one, and this is what it looks like. And then once I had the grain pattern done, I put a UV resistant coating on it, which is here. It sort of looks a bit milky to start with, but it actually dries clear. And because I messed about with this door a little bit, it is a bit darker than what I ideally wanted, but it's certainly good enough to fit on. So I put it on here as the first door, and it's on the side of the workshop, which is a bit more out of the way. But I think that wood grain turned out well. It's a very solid door, and I've got a little window in it so I can see out, so I don't run into anything or anybody. And it opens and closes very solidly. With that door done, I push on and I finish off the fire system, which just included another copper line going all the way through the ridge of the building. And then I put 2 T's in to 2 large sprinkler heads that I'll put on the roof, and I'll just seal up that little hole around the copper pipe. Now it's all copper, obviously, because if there's a fire you don't want to have any plastic. These are quite high radius sprinklers, so there's 2 on the building, and if, or rather when, the next fire comes, I should have a good chance of fighting it. So I push on and I stain the rest of the timber I need to finish off the front wall, and I put all the trims on and all the framework, and finally this is the last wall of this entire build. So you can see I've fitted the next door there, which I've still got to stain, and I'll show you what I did with that in a minute. I put the metalin up progressively work my way along, and it's the same as all the other walls. Just take my time, cut around all the openings, which was a bit fiddly, and at this point I'm getting pretty close. And it's been a long, hard job, and I was really glad to put this particular sheet on, which was the last sheet of the external build. Once that sheet was on, all that was left to do was put the final screws in, and the external building, as I said, is completely done. I do pre-drill these because some of the purlins are quite thick, and I don't want to slip. So that's what it looks like now. I think it looks quite good with the timber mixed with the colour bond and the hardwood soffits, and I've got some lights there as you can see in earlier videos, so that should all work out pretty good. Now I'll start putting the windows in. Somebody did ask what windows, so all of the windows I'm putting in are double glazed, and I put a beater sealant around the inside, and then once that's in, I simply put another edge around or trim that covers the bolts that is holding the frame, and no silicone on them, just in case I've got to get it out again someday. And it turns out a really nice clean look. Now with a bit of practice on the first door, I changed my method a little bit, and this is how I've done all the remaining doors. So first coat I'll get on there fairly quickly and try to keep it as consistent as possible. Then I'll mark out some wood grains, and once I do that, I let it dry a bit and then put a second coat just on where I want the timber effect. And whilst it looks a bit dark here, what I found is once that dries, I do one last coat, an even coat over the whole thing, and not only do I get the color I want, I found that the wood grain sort of blends into that timber look really nicely. And once this was done, I put a clear coat as before, and you can see here this attempt and this finish I think looks awesome, and it's the right color as well. So with the doors stained, I then start the internal wall. So this is the internal walls for my office, and there's another door there as well, and you can just see from the inside. And this small room here is part of the office. It's going to be the toilet, and what I'm going to do there is build a pocket door. So a pocket door obviously slides inside the wall, and what I did is I bought the pocket door track and rollers, but I didn't buy the frame because I just wanted to make my own frame out of metal. So there's the roller. This is super heavy duty. It can hold a door of 120 kilos, so better too strong than not strong enough. I use my laser just to get it marked up properly, and in the next video I'll go through finishing the framework for this pocket door, and I'll complete the loft, handrails and flooring. See you next time.